Welcome, friends. Welcome to Godly Play. Will you join me in the circle? Today we are going to continue our story, The Faces of Easter. I'll see you in a minute. In the beginning, the baby was born. The baby was born a wordless child, and the mother Mary and the father Joseph cared for the baby. They kept the baby warm and gave him everything he needed to grow, and he began to grow. When he was about 12 years old, Jesus went with the mother Mary and the father Joseph and many people from their village of Nazareth to the great city of Jerusalem. When it was time to go home, they looked for Jesus, but they could not find him. They looked everywhere. Finally, they even went back to the temple, and there he was with the priests, the rabbis. Mary and Joseph said, "Jesus, why did you do this?" And he said something very strange. He said, "Didn't you know I would be in my Father's house?" They didn't understand. Their house was in Nazareth, where Joseph's carpenter shop was. They didn't understand, but they did not forget. When Jesus was about 30 years old, he went to the River Jordan, where his cousin John was baptizing people. That day when Jesus was baptized, there were people there who saw a dove come down from heaven and come close to Jesus. There were also people who heard a voice, and that voice said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." After he was baptized, Jesus went across the River Jordan into the desert, where he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights. Jesus went into the desert, where he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights, to find out more about who he was and what his work was going to be. There was very little to eat or drink. He heard a voice, and the voice asked him lots of questions. One time the voice said, "If you will bow down and follow me, I will make you king over all the kingdoms of the earth." Jesus said, "No. I am to be a king, but not that kind of a king." And then the voice went away. Jesus went back across the River Jordan and began to do his work. But what was his work? His work was to come close to people, especially people no one else wanted to come close to. Do you remember how he came so close to the blind man that he could touch his eyes? When Jesus came close to people, they changed. They became well. They could see things they could never do before. They could do things they could never do before and see things they could never see before. Jesus taught in many ways. He also told parables. Finally, he knew it was time for him to become a parable. And so he turned toward Jerusalem for the last time. Jesus went to Jerusalem for the last time. It was the time of the Passover, and the city was full of people from all different lands. Still, that day, when he arrived into Jerusalem, he did not come riding on a big white horse. He did not arrive on the shoulders of soldiers. He came into the city on a donkey, and it wasn't even his. He had borrowed it. Even so, people gathered and waved palm branches when he came into the city because palm branches were a sign of kings. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Jesus taught in the temple. He taught there every day, and every night he went to the Mount of Olives to pray. People would watch him come and go, and when they saw him go to the Mount of Olives, they said, "That is where the angels are supposed to come down and make an army to drive away the Roman soldiers." One day, when Jesus was teaching in the temple, he said, "Do you see that old woman over there? She's going to put something in the money box. Listen, did you hear anything?" "No." "She put the smallest coin there is in the box. That was all the money she had." Now here comes a rich man. He makes so much money, and he's bringing so much to put in the money box that he has to have help to carry it in. His money makes a huge clanging and banging sound as it falls into the box. Now I wonder, which one really gave the most? The old woman or the rich man? Some said the rich man gave the most. Some said the old woman. The temple guard said, "On Thursday we will take him." But on Thursday they could not find him. That evening Jesus and the 12 hurried through the dark streets to a house. They climbed up the stairs to an upper room and shared their last supper together. After they had everything they wanted to eat, Jesus took some bread, and he gave thanks to God for it, and he broke it and he shared it, and he said something like, "Whenever you share the bread like this, I will be there." Then he took a cup of wine and gave thanks to God for it and said, "Whenever you share the cup of wine like this, I will be there." What was he talking about? He was always saying things like that. How could they know? Still, they did not forget, and later they would understand. Suddenly, Judas got up and left. The rest of them sang a hymn and then went to the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives. Jesus wanted to pray. When he finished, he joined the 12, but Judas came out of the dark and greeted him. This was a signal for the temple guards to take him. They too came out of the darkness and the shadows, and they took Jesus away into the night. The 12 disappeared into the darkness as well. I wonder what you remember when you hear this big, long story. I wonder if there's a part I feel like is just for you. I wonder if you have ever come close to the bread and the wine. I wonder if you have ever felt like you were in the darkness. I wonder if you were ever confused about something that you heard Jesus say. We're going to continue our story next time, and we'll hear the whole story that will take us all the way through Good Friday and into Easter Sunday. So I hope you'll come back and share that part of the story with us. I'll see you next time.